This is
Chat the Great.
But I wanted to ask you, like, because your first signing, like the big signing, was Blur.
First ever signing. My bosses were quite good. They stopped me from signing a couple of things. The first offer I ever got out was on a band called Ride, who was signed to Creation Records, and through that I got to know all the Creation people. And then I was in Record and Tape Exchange, and up on the wall was a poster in Camden Town for a new Food Records band called Blur. And I went, oh, well, that should be good. I'll check that out. It was at the Bull and Gate, because I really liked Jesus Jones, and I really liked Voice of the Beehive, who they managed, and Diesel Park West, who were another band on Food Records seemed like a great place. And as a talent scout, you often follow labels, and it felt like Food, Jesus Jones were a band who were having a big hit, and they were making music that I liked. And that's always been the way I've done A&R. Can I hear it on the radio? Do I like it? And I think though, if I can hear something on the radio and I actually like it, then the chances are it's going to do all right. So I went along to see Blur that Friday, and it was in the back room of the Bull and Gate, maybe about 40 or 50 people in there. Totally chaotic. They were wearing the clothes of the day, so they were all wearing baggy t-shirts, baggy jeans. They all had different variations of bowl haircuts that was also very fashionable at the time. And the singer was just like insane. He was like climbing along the ceiling pipes and jumping on the PA at the side of the stage and throwing us, and he'd run behind the kit and be sick, and they'd run out again. And it was as wonky as anything. And I just couldn't, it's just like, this is, and I could see Andy Ross, their A&R guy from Food, standing almost side of the stage going, yeah, do this, do that. And I was just, hang on, this seems a little bit contrived. So I went away, and then the following week, they were doing a 4-week residency. I went back the following week to see them again, because obviously something had stuck with me, because they were exciting, really exciting. And I went back, and that second time I went back, I just went, wow. I remembered every single song from the week before. The melodic power of those songs and those guitar parts were just amazing. And the bass had the bass had its own kind of like up front, running away with itself, sort of like, approach. And I suddenly went, God, these guys are really, really good. And then I saw them again at the venue in New Cross. I think, I can't remember. They might have been opening for Pulp or something like that. Yeah. And they were really good. And I remember hearing She Is So High and just going, oh my God, they could be the Stone Roses. They could be as big as the Stone Roses. And the Stone Roses were on the radio. And I heard She Is So High, and I thought, well, that could be on the radio because it sounds a bit like the Stone Roses. And there was no getting away from what they were like. They were, a bunch of really good looking lads. And then I got to know them. And Damon was a bit suspicious, but he was just like super focused. And it just turned out that we just were in love with the same cinema, the same books, the same music. And got to know Damon, he knew you were supportive. He was incredible, he was your friend, he'd quite intimidating and intense, but he was so full of confidence and belief. I'd never met anyone like that before, who knew his destiny. And the other guys were probably a little bit more laid back, but they were all great fun. I mean, Graham was living in a squat in Camberwell with his girlfriend. Alex was living in, a dreadful squat in New Cross, opposite the venue, just next to the town hall. Dave was living in a bedsit in Greenwich, and it was a bit like the Beatles, because it was like this terrace street, and he had a bed, just literally one room in the front of this terrace. And Damon lived about 5 doors down on the same street in Greenwich. And I just really, it's like, God, these guys are great. And they know about art, and they know about books, and they know about punk rock. and they know about Scott Walker, and then and suddenly it was just a meeting of minds, and I was just beyond myself at meeting, you know, 4 of the coolest people I'd ever met in my life that were great fun, good looking, and so they were my mates. I was in the tour bus. I was traveling around with them, and we were all hedonistic at the time as well. So we bonded in that way.
Yeah.
And I managed to persuade my boss to overlook his thought that Damon maybe didn't have the greatest voice in the world. And he did acknowledge, yeah, they've got some good tunes. We put an offer out. And then everybody else got wise, and suddenly I was competing with 4 or 5 other companies. And one of the we'd offered a 5-figure sum, and another company had offered a 6-figure sum that was nearly twice as much as our offer. And I was just, I would honestly go home every night and pray to God to sign the band, because I knew if I could sign Blur, I'd have a career in the music business. And they were the best band I'd ever seen. And this was it. This was my one shot.
Mm.
And incredibly, much to the annoyance of their manager, they signed with me. And I'd never signed anything before. They just went, oh, we like Mike, and he likes us, and there's no nonsense about it.
Wow.
That doesn't happen ever.
So rare.
No, it's very rare that somebody will take a significant.
But you kind of build that because you hang out with them, you have the same things, you talk to them,
We're roughly the same age. So there was just a meeting of minds, and I really felt like I was on the team. They've all been lifelong friends, and we've been through phenomenal things to get together. And Alex, the bass player, managed to do what my mate Ben didn't do, and he introduced me to my wife. So, not only have I got them to be thankful for a career in the music industry, I've also got them to be thankful for a wife and 2 kids. So
you're connected for life with those guys.
Yeah, totally. I mean, Alex is he's the godfather of Stevie, my older daughter.